In the quiet village of Oduma, where time moved slowly and the air always smelled of smoke and spices, there stood a crooked house at the end of a winding path. This house belonged to Bako and Miri, two souls bound by marriage, love, and mischief. From the outside, their life seemed perfect. Two aging lovers who still held hands, laughed at market jokes, and hosted the liveliest dances during harvest season. But inside their home, a curious habit had taken root. Each day, like clockwork, they found ways to hide from each other, not to escape, not to quarrel, but to eat alone. Once upon a time, in a quiet and mysterious village nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering trees, there lived a peculiar couple named Bako and Miri. Their house, though slightly crooked, stood as a landmark at the edge of town, and their lives were as open as the front door, which was almost always left ajar. In this village, everyone knew everyone else's business, or so it seemed. But the strange behavior of Bako and Miri remained a puzzle to the villagers, who often shook their heads in confusion and whispered rumors behind cupped hands. Bako and Miri were known throughout the village for their infectious laughter and their love for each other. They'd been a couple for as long as anyone could remember, and their relationship seemed to be the picture of perfect harmony. They were always seen holding hands, sharing jokes, and showering each other with affection. They were the kind of couple that made everyone else in the village yearn for love as pure and as strong as theirs. But not all was as it appeared in the idyllic life of Bako and Miri. Behind closed doors, their house echoed with a different story. Instead of the sound of laughter, there was only silence. And instead of the smell of freshly baked bread, there was the aroma of something distinctly fishy. One day, a neighbor noticed something peculiar. While tending to her garden, she saw Bako slip out of his house, walk a few steps, and then hide behind a tree. He was holding a piece of bread in his hand. Moments later, Miri emerged from the house, and upon seeing the bread in Bako's hand, she let out a surprised yelp. Bako quickly concealed the bread behind his back, and Miri, after a puzzled expression, went about her day. The neighbor was utterly confused. What was that piece of bread? Why were they hiding it from each other? And why did just the sight of it cause such a reaction? As days turned into weeks, the neighbor began to notice a pattern. Every morning, she would see Bako and Miri sneak out of their house and hide in different parts of the garden, pretending to be engrossed in gardening. But the truth was far from it. They were eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, hiding from each other. It was as if they were leading a double life, filled with secrets and lies. And the neighbor, along with the rest of the villagers, was on the outside looking in, completely oblivious to what was really going on behind the walls of that crooked house. The question that echoed through the village was, why were they hiding? Why did Bako and Miri, a seemingly happy couple, resort to such strange behavior? The answer, as it turned out, was more bizarre than anyone could have imagined. It began subtly. Bako started disappearing late at night. Miri would hear the creak of the pantry door, followed by the soft crinkle of wrappers or the unmistakable crunch of roasted groundnuts. In the mornings, Miri would vanish with a bundle under her arm, leaving behind the sweet scent of honey bread. They pretended not to notice the other's food-stained fingers, the crumbs in the bed sheets, or the bite marks in the fridge. They lived as if sharing meals was no longer a law, but a game of stealth and silence. When the moon is high up in the sky, an African man named Bako begins his nightly ritual. He sneaks out of bed, careful not to wake his sleeping wife, and heads to the kitchen. In the pantry, he indulges in crunchy snacks like roasted groundnuts, making sure to eat as quietly as possible so as not to draw any attention. Meanwhile, as the sun rises, an African lady named Miri wakes up early. She too has a morning ritual. After a quick prayer, she goes to the kitchen and enjoys her favorite treat, honey bread. She carefully wraps the bread in a piece of cloth, hides it under her clothes, and takes it back to bed without waking Bako. She eats her fill, all the while wondering where her husband went and what he was doing in the middle of the night. Unspoken awareness. As the days pass, Miri and Bako become more aware of each other's habits. They notice the crumbs on the bed sheets, the wrappers hidden under the clothes, the faint scent of honey bread wafting through the house. But neither says a word to the other. Deliberate silence. One day, Miri decides to confront her husband. She asks him point blank, "Do you eat in the middle of the night?" Bako looks at her, surprised that she knows about his midnight snacking. He had thought he was being so discreet, but Miri already knows. She had put the pieces together. She had seen the evidence, yet she didn't expose him. She had hoped that he would confess, but here he was acting all innocent. So she decides to play along. She pretends to believe him when he denies eating in the middle of the night. Growing curiosity and mystery. From then on, they both keep their distance. The once comfortable bed now feels like a battlefield. Miri continues to wake up early and eat her honey bread, and Bako continues to sneak out at night for his crunchy snacks. They live in the same house, yet they might as well be living in separate worlds. One thing is clear though, they are both hiding something. There's more to their story than just stolen snacks. What are they so desperate to hide? Why do they risk their marriage over food? And what will it take to bring them together again? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, please subscribe for more updates on this intriguing story. It all started when Miri decided to cook a special goat stew. She put in the time and care to make it extra rich and flavorful, full of ogiri, a fermented seasoning, hot pepper, and smoked onions. It smelled so good as it simmered away, but she had to stop at some point to let it cool. So she left it on the stove, turned off the heat, and stepped away to get some fresh air. When she returned, she found that half of the stew had vanished. There were no spills, no mess, no explanation, just a deep sense of betrayal. Her eyes landed on Bako, who was nearby. He was whistling nonchalantly while pretending to read a book. Miri couldn't help but tease him. "You smell like stew," she said lightly, but he just smiled and denied everything. "Me? What are you talking about?" And in that moment, something inside of Miri snapped. If Bako could sneak food and pretend like nothing happened, then so could she. Why should she be the one to always confront him about stealing her food? From that day forward, Miri decided to stop confronting and start hiding. She would no longer leave her food unattended, and she made sure to hide it in places only she knew about. Bako, on the other hand, continued to act like nothing had happened. He went about his days whistling, reading, and occasionally stealing Miri's food. But now there was a new determined glint in Miri's eyes. She was onto him. So the game began. They danced around each other, each trying to outsmart the other. Bako would steal a bite or two, but Miri would always be one step ahead, hiding her food in places he couldn't find. The stew incident became a turning point in their relationship. It marked the end of innocence and the beginning of a playful rivalry. Who do you think will win this battle of wits? Will it be Miri or Bako? Let me know in the comments. After the great stew incident of 2023, Miri decided she needed a new plan. She was going to get Bako back, but she needed the perfect revenge. Then she had a brainwave. She got up from her seat, went to the kitchen, and got to work. Now, you might be wondering what she was doing. Well, let me tell you. First, she peeled and cut some cassava. Then she boiled it until it was soft. Then she mashed it with some salt and pepper until it was a smooth, creamy consistency. Next, she rolled the dough into little balls, flattened them, and rolled them in a little bit of oil. And just like that, her favorite snack, golden cassava balls, were born. She placed the balls on a plate, put on her jacket, and walked out of the house, leaving the plate on the table. She walked into the kitchen and hid behind the curtain. She was gonna catch Bako red-handed, or should I say beak-handed. All she had to do was wait. Not long after, she heard the front door open and close. Then she heard footsteps coming into the kitchen. She peeked out from behind the curtain and saw Bako looking around. He walked over to the table, looked at the cassava balls, then at the door, and then back at the cassava balls. He started to eat them one by one, licking his fingers with satisfaction. Miri couldn't help but laugh quietly. She knew she was right about him. He was just a big softy who liked to play games, but there was no way she was letting him win. She might have been slow to realize it, but now she understood. This was a game of revenge, a battle of wits, and she was gonna win. As Bako slept that night, Miri got up and went to the kitchen. She rummed family style, peeled some ripe plantains, cut them up, fried them, and sprinkled them with salt. Then she went back to bed, leaving the frying pan on the counter. She had played her card, and now she just had to wait.